The whole species valuing system. Each of the sciences are obfuscated. This is critical in relationship to North Korean impositions, American impositions, every nation's impositions, China, impositions on China, Japan, everyone's tactically denatured. See they call the suicide forest in Japan, where all the trees you can't see below the tree line. This was not only in relationship to wars, tactically denatured before modern nations' relationship to nature, but this is forced as an identity of nations for shared police and market positions tied to reactions to our fact-achieving nature, knew that it would make only realized victim predators in relationship to sequence and natures of crimes that no one understands, and they're being facilitated to keep. Okay, so this is what positive looks like. There's an inherent nature of volume of it, of the identity of the nature that we share. Now, we share a nature that is the identity of the great progression. And so science is, each of them are recorded obfuscating this. Not only are recorded obfuscating that, they're recorded interbranch through time, preventing free speech with areas. By directing, originally and stayed, interbranch in collusion with inter-nation, specifically for fact, treatment, nature, everyone blaming it on other and on other causes, and playing roles to physical delusions, fact, treatment, nature, justifications, all sharing roles with criminality, with mental health care, shared through our nations. This is the problem with intermilitary, interbranch, related to the Trade Center, and with our nations. And with all that tied to all areas, fact, treatment, nature, justifications, policing of what was is on the books being used to cover up all that was is off the books. Also hiding that with hiding understanding of original inter-nation criminal enterprises, criminal uses of religion used for all kinds of database crimes over here. Pretend people. When you see the people that really causing the violence and hate with their opinions and stuff online, it's because they're always using mental health care. They're asking people if they know about, and these are people recorded mental health care. The way the structure is, they cultivate them with all kinds of natures and roles with child abuses, elderly abuses, because at each age is raised not thinking, with physical delusions to states compromised originally and progressed. Our found America's history, ratiocination, and pseudo-ratiocination shared value relationship, the progressions. So positive, the inherent nature of volume, then life is the active nature of volume. Now this is split, but in relationship to the progression, in relationship to temporary, physical body of value. But the bottom that is simultaneously physical body of value, metaphysical body of value, and the value beyond, and as the value of the progression, it forces what causes evolution as a nature of relationship to itself, or forces it away from here as a nature relationship to itself. Semi-ancient or organized crime method realized that it could hurt all modern nations and hurt the rest of semi-ancient nations and make criminally re-engineered nature of internation sciences, not trusted in developing only as a means to perpetually keep the only realized branches and natures of legal natures, fact-driven natures, tool laws as the only sophistication realized. themselves only let realized, justifying a relationship to areas and states in collusion with what was internation, specifically for fact, treatment, nature tricks, specifically with color and with evidence crimes, database crimes, where they painted our founders to histories that were untrue because they had to hide. They had to pretend laws that were telling everyone was a fact, treatment, nature slave for a long-term breaching method that would only let realized capable of fact, treatment, nature as breaching nature, and as tool, lie, progression, cover-up nature, and as easy exploitation nature. Perpetually, because you a bridge fact, treatment nature. You see what I'm saying? This wasn't color that forced that with the law, the color. That in law, how law was justified, pretended that being the problem, was what that was set up for. And what forced that to have that stayed, needed by only let realize pseudo-sophistication in relationship to real retreats. But the only ones that handle it. So what we need is like better than the McCarthy plan. We need the armies of nations to be conscious that we're in an ulterior from actual value in your system. Monetize this, so I can see the actors too, and then you keep going. But in other words, the militaries. But you have to do it. The semi-ancients and ancients show how. In other words. Anyway, let me just show you what positive looks like in the active phase. See, this is divided as the same nature that won't divide. That's what forces evolution or forces it from here. It's going to stay perfect value progression, the identity of the nature we share, the identity of space when you use ratiocination. This is three natures, but one is split, and that's the active. That's the value of us here, closest. But so this is what Adam and Eve are about. This is what the beginning of the Quran is about. Why it gives someone the right to all you have to do is say that you believe Allah is the identity of space, and you're a Muslim. And before any of the controversial parts, you only have to be honest about what's being talked about in the beginning of the part, and you have the right to disagree with any of the controversial parts of the of the Quran. They tell you before they get into the controversial parts. No, because what's it about up here? It's about a nature of fact treatment, nature being in relationship to justifications of a value nature system that you can't defend those justifications, and what exploits us right through each nation's faked, forced unity, abridged as fact treatment nature, incapable of the education of each age of fact treatment nature, but reliant upon only that realized, exploited, juxtaposed, legalized criminal and citizens natures of nations, and juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises and such, sick with mental health care type and prisons types and stuff like that, all juxtaposed to areas kept unfolding progression of correlation nature value. Degradation. They knew that nature itself would cause negative value nature progressions, and demonstration of this with the lie progressions caused by only realized pseudo-sophistication nature agencies, legal natures, physics dealing people with military impositions, because we have no science, not one nation. We have American history abridged through internation agreements and with like criminal justice and stuff like that, policing of stores and stuff shared here. They send families and stuff like that, but already This is internation facilitated through through already progressed database solution stacking rackets, reliance upon internation, criminality on the records and off the records with, and then they rackets with prisons and with their stewards and with the areas, with crimes with their federal criminals before they're in there, the sickest ones, and with their doctors. Recorded online too. They make evidence crimes, rules crimes, sequence shifts, crimes to make it, directing people tied to it, actual investigators type in such, so they can pretend they don't other. Also measure everyone in Oz. Also multi-front, that people counter, because everyone's being forced to counter. Everyone's being forced to react. That's why they keep saying through generations, they're making multi-front America not what it is, and they're saying, oh, the rest of the nations are laughing at us. We're in the modern infrastructure that religions are about. These aren't science means. We have the science means. These aren't its value nature systems means to get bricks and stuff. We could have monetized. We could have made money just keeping it real and showing what little Hartford was. What justifies that? What knew it was going to justify that? That's what all these investigations are for, because they're held manifest to have them held justified, because they're keeping the stewards of them with natures of crime that are criminally foreign influenced, right through all our nations. Not one nation with treatments of the value nature system tied to the trade center agreement are worthy of it. Together as one fake identity, as a fact cheating nature, not by accident needing to cover that up, right? There's no only sophistication to jobs in relationship to the other jobs. Private, juxtaposed, like with bankers. But then there's all kinds of rackets, because with fact cheating rackets, right here, they don't even let mandated law through time. Same people punishing people for not letting the mandated law. It's because it's the way it was. We're in a broke value nature system. That's why the nature will continue to get bad. More criminal insidiousness nature's the positive takes. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a police force. That's why they only can think punishment to hurt. Never to figure out what this is what's keeping whole areas victim predators. Only let be victims. Even when and how. This is all tactically ulterior from natural value nature system. So we have voices that can speak for. They say, and they use what people defending their takes on positive for business. That's all right. But then, not when we don't have it defended over here. Reality. We have database solutions stacking with areas, with intercampus, and with courts. And through how it is internation areas making. So positive is, look what this is. Only one way overall. That's why the cell nucleus is divided. Like two parts, but I'm not a doctor. I have to get a microscope someday, so we can learn. Before all finite, there's an identity of value that was already value. Now the only way we can discern this is because that's the value that made active. That's with and as an active value that is making that value. That we can never be more value as our value. So we can be it as a semi-nature of it. Like one semi-nature of our cell is a sequence nature unto itself with a cell nucleus, cell body of value. And those two parts sharing that body and sharing that 2 parts into the nucleus, and then sharing the cell wall also manifests as a body of value because of the relationship to the other cells, also to the greater value progression of the identity shared by all things, before all finite. That's the order to the symmetry of the finite in its value relationship at the same time simultaneously to all active values separated in the Trinity, which is 3 dimensions as a nature, as 3 that is to all parts. The identity that of a nature of volume that will not mix with temporary space nature, but through this progression means to here perfectly, or as it forced from here. Lethe of Hades, force space nature transfer, Brazilian state of perfect value progression. That's why nations. This is what the identity of positive looks like. And if you understand that, you have to understand the identity of positive, then to understand, I'm not a doctor either, you have to understand identity of value progressions. Not just one value progression, but all of them have one, positive or negative value nature progression. Evolution, or not just de-evolution, the Lethe of Hades. The expanding value of positive and negative value nature to a semi-nature of its complete nature coming through. An identity of value that is discernible, radical correlation. See, they're tricked us to go against radical and to go against some multi-front, to go against odds, because they don't want us to understand American history. Because the campuses, the campus Marcia stayed, before modern nations, it was criminally re-engineered, forced to shared police market positions, database relationships, rackets with prisons, where they're the criminals with the areas, against each age for factory nature, maintaining inter-nation criminal influences over areas blamed on others, and cultivating roles with and as consciously engineered breaching nature, fact-cheating nature. That's why we have such hate on the internet. It's formally in collusion with past and with all kinds of active and progressive fact mistreatments, fact crimes and rules crimes, and sequence shifting crimes and illusions being stacked in interbranch databases through original and state criminal foreign influences. Not even debatable, but through how they have knave real fast. By progression, cover up natures and styles, justification natures of this through areas maintained originally and stayed, criminally foreign influence sciences. Then branches only let realize. Branches, what's that mean? Police forms, agencies, FBI, CIA, whatever, all the people, agencies. They're recorded pretending people talk about them, stacking database illusions with other nations' doctors here. This is why they're not letting people report things on and off campuses. They're making the wrong outcomes and all kinds of everything multi-front. They're hurting correlation nature per what is maintaining this motivated through what was realized that they knew modern nations, areas, and state stewards would only be would be nature's needing to hide light progressions as database reactions that are criminal, and that could be perpetually maintained criminally foreign influence, but not through one nation, and requiring a quality of fact treatment nature that not one nation at the same time and or individually has at the same time through opinion natures or recorded mass criminally foreign influence. This is what we're going to come and treat. Color. Racism is a term recorded by the states originally sick with this color with the law, and fake morality, multi-front against correlation nature, against everyone, how they are motivated in doing that still, per database illusion stacking. Not just with cases, but with illusions in crime roles with areas originally progressed, not let demonstrations. That's in relationship to Marcus positions, fact-cheating nature. That's why we have the embassies. That's why President Trump and President Obama have disagreements about the position of the embassy in London. Because the connections they have between suburbs and cities are criminally foreign influenced. And they're with physical delusions regarding color, regarding each sign's fact-cheating nature. They have not had legal nature representation. We are not allowed free speech of truth to claim the value nature system tactically abridged. And this is because, not just of because of the hurt on fact-cheating nature. That's what doesn't let overt exploitations of color won't let it demonstrated, because they're being used for defense of the knaves. Only let realized interbranch, intermilitary, connected with color, using that in conjunction with roles in nature's criminally foreign influence, with database illusion stacking crimes, with lie progression cover-up needs and natures needing to pretend their patriotism nature. They're the only ones only realize. In collusion with other suit and tie nations, other counters that don't understand too. That's why they never defended the Quran, the yin yang. Yin yang is painting three natures, the Trinity, as value. Same time painting five natures as value, as a nature. At the same time painting a relationship to it, that we lost. The science is multi-front, because those areas maintained criminal influence, knave lies were tied to areas maintained relationships to those database crimes, those evidence crimes, those stacking in cases and interbranch, intercampuses. Then that has reactions with areas online. Need to hide lie progressions, have facilitated for them internation roles with, like, Town Line Drive, bleaching with all these people, like a Pandolf family, people I never tried to contact before, two Mendez brothers, what's his name? A Joshua Julian that I never had anything to do with. All now involved. They have recorded ties to proven child predators, but with interbranch. And through time, what they're doing is database solution stacking against each age of fact-cheating nature. One principal arrested for crimes against children, but also there was worse police involved with it. First, that directed him to roles with that. Also with them recorded online with rape threats against the kids and against their family members, the police, and the people with the court. And they hid that before the principal was arrested. In other words, they were and are still sustaining roles and methods with the nature of organized crime that was on and off campus too. So we have to have proper quality fact-cheating nature. They're also with this, they're pretending people have physical reactions and said things and have behavior that they don't have. So they're forcing simultaneous aggression, torture, worse than torture, and they're forcing a criminal insidious nature made to respect authority that is compromised, that is not authority. Then they're juxtaposing overtly criminally foreign influence, and legalized criminal influence stayed as natures down to finite, needing to cover up their roles with breaching method, right through and as this kept for that. So we have, since I was a kid, they're recorded with this. They're recorded pretending other now. Now they're still hiding more recorded and confessed child predators into branch with Wethersfield, with the schools, and with doctors, and with their whole family members, recorded with the courts involved. See and by having these natures people influence him with roles with methods of crime like that, sick things they write in databases, that fake relationships to people, with child sex offenders, with drug crimes, with untimely deaths that brought up the child sex offenders. Wethersfield, Connecticut was left with slavery by George Washington because he was a slave by it. He was a roll with it. Like, the better job. Not even the better job. It's not no job. They had to retreat the whole time. They had to stay where everyone not pretending what would happen because everyone got forced because they had the law so sick. They knew that where everyone was going to come out of it, but they made it. James Madison had the plan to trick them to make it come out of it a little bit too soon so they could throw some integrity in there with the Constitution. Preservation of what they're trying to take away, to keep obfuscated, which is the identity the sciences share, obligations as the value of English, and as the value of the identity before and as its value to all finite, even down to the finite of each letter, in demonstration of the Trinity and of its relationship to itself, as the cause to positive value nature progressions or negative value nature progressions, Lethe of Hades. So this is the thing. We have to move fast. But I'm gonna see if we can't have a nation pushing bombs, and this is forcing me to have to agree with my nation, and they're abridged. And this is why the organized crime is doing that, to keep all areas and states fact-cheap in nature, needed to ignore where the value nature system within that is fact-cheap in nature, convictions and line of reasoning. See, we have a line of reasoning. That's why the president's being forced to repeat things, because we have that line of reasoning forced abridged, because their database illusion stacking, pretending things are recorded. Agencies are, with crime rolls, with other agencies through the areas shared here. So no one knows how to explain it, how to deal with it as legal fact in nature. They have bombs at their back. They're playing what's not science. So in other words, the only way I could help, a whole world wants to help our nature's system inherent to itself. Our nature has a nature, radical correlation. Jesus Christ is about radical correlation, about that our nature's relationship to itself. It's a relationship to perfect value progression only let realized. For it's from here, Lethe of Hades. That's why overall space, everything is in demonstration. Overall nature has no criminal persuasions. That's why and how it evolved. That's why and how we evolved. Criminally re-engineered, inter-nation sciences in semi-ancient times, consciously to maintain the same way the negative, all finite value treatments ordered by what was his beyond records, and as method and nature of organized crime against progression nature to every spot of every modern nation. Fact cheaping nature, see suit and tie, see counters, all fail. The identity of space, Allah, is English is revealed to teach us. The Trinity, Jesus Christ, the same course. Yin Yang is the same course. 5 pillars of Islam. Five values as nature. 5 values as nature, the yin yang. None have sang. Boxing has not yet sprang. Boxing must rest. Boxing must spring. To sing, I tell it best. Lost course returns. Internation Sciences revealed this. Native American